Season 1 of Euphoria follows Rue Bennett and her fellow high school student friends through their experiences with relationships, identity, and trauma. Rue is a 17-year-old recovering drug addict who's dealt with lifelong mental disorders and has yet to fully process her father's death from cancer. Rue's constant fluctuation between relapse and recovery is a struggle for not only her, but her mother Leslie and her younger sister Gia. Rue's childhood best friend is Lexi, although their relationship has become strained. Lexi tries to be there for Rue, but is constantly pushed away by Rue's self-destructive tendencies. Lexi's older sister is Cassie, who's in a relationship with college freshman Christopher McKay. Cassie has been grappling with being abandoned by her father at an early age, while McKay struggles under the immense pressure his own father puts on him to be a professional athlete. These issues lead to a lot of friction in their relationship, including McKay being hesitant to label Cassie as his girlfriend, and Cassie cheating on McKay with fellow high schooler Daniel, leading to Cassie eventually getting pregnant. Another high school student is Kat Hernandez, who is growing more confident in her body. After unknowingly being filmed while losing her virginity, Kat discovers the massive money that can be made by becoming a cam girl, and so she starts posting pictures and videos of herself online for money, while also continuing to experiment and explore her body. Eventually, Kat meets and begins dating her classmate Ethan, but her insecurities and paranoia constantly create conflict between the two. Star quarterback Nate Jacobs is an abusive bully, using violence and anger to mask his sexual insecurities. He's in an on-again, off-again relationship with Maddie Perez, who, during a break in their relationship, has sex with a college student named Tyler in front of everyone at McKay's house party. Upon learning of this, Nate goes into a rage, breaking into Tyler's home and beating him to near death. When Nate and Maddie rekindle their relationship, Nate gets angry with Maddie and grabs her by the throat, leaving bruises. When those bruises are discovered and reported to the police, Nate breaks back into Tyler's home to force him into falsely confessing to the crime. Nate's father, Cal, has his own sexual secrets that he hides from his family, namely his pattern of filming himself having sex with young gay men and trans women. His most recent sexual encounter is with the new-in-town high school student Jules. When Rue meets Jules, she is instantly smitten. Much to Rue's dismay, Jules begins a texting relationship with a man she met online named Tyler. Jules and Tyler exchange nudes, but when they finally meet in person, Tyler is revealed to be Nate, who threatens Jules to keep her mouth shut about her sexual encounter with his father, or he will send her photos to the police. The betrayal leaves Jules shell-shocked, but she finds comfort in Rue, and the two kiss. While Rue wants this to lead to a relationship, Jules isn't quite ready to commit, and even meets a new girl named Anna while on a getaway night out in the city. Meanwhile, Rue's struggle with sobriety takes a turn for the worse. Her close friend and drug dealer Fezco begins to worry for Rue's well-being and refuses to sell any more drugs to her. But that is complicated when his violent supplier Mouse shows up and forces Rue to try fentanyl. When Rue discovers that Nate had pretended to be Tyler to threaten Jules, Rue turns to Fezco to intimidate the bully. In retaliation, Nate reports Fez to the police, forcing Fez and his younger brother Ashtray to dispose of their stash, putting the pair in a huge debt to Mouse. As the season comes to a close, Cassie gets an abortion with her family by her side. Kat and Ethan reconcile, Fezco robs Mouse's supplier to pay his debts, Nate and Maddie peacefully break up, and Rue confronts Nate over his threats toward Jules, making her own threats to expose Cal. In the end, Rue and Jules make plans to run away together, but Rue backs out at the last minute and leaves Jules to depart on the train alone. Back at home, a heartbroken Rue snorts oxycodone. In the two-part special centering on Rue and Jules, Rue meets with her Narcotics Anonymous sponsor Ali to recount her relapse. Ali imports a lot of wisdom on Rue and explains that forgiving oneself is a key of change and that he has faith in Rue's continued improvement. Meanwhile, Jules is in therapy where it's revealed that her mother is an addict, which in turn complicates her feelings for the addict Rue. Despite this, Jules admits to loving Rue, but she is also still in love with the fake Tyler that Nate had pretended to be. It's been over 4 years since the last season of Euphoria ended, and that's got me thinking of all of the streaming services I'm signed up for, but haven't used since my favorite shows ended. I actually just did the math and realized I'm spending over $100 every single month on subscription services I don't even use anymore. Well, thankfully today's sponsor Rocket Rocket Money is here to help. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. The Rocket Money app is super easy to use. Once I connected my bank account, it identified all of my various subscriptions into a single list, and with just a few taps I could select the ones I didn't want anymore and wanted Rocket Money's help to cancel. My first child was born last year, and that inspired me to be a better steward of my money, not just for my own financial future, but also for my son's. Rocket Money helped me lower my monthly expenses by negotiating my bills for me. Instead of having to contact customer service for my phone or internet bills myself, Rocket Money's negotiators got to work for me to try to get the best possible rates. And did I mention the Rocket Money app can help you create a customized budget in seconds and automatically analyze your accounts to help you save for your financial goals faster? So take control of your finances today. Go to rocketmoney.com/recapandchill to start your free premium trial. There's a link in the description, or you can scan the QR code to get started for free. Thanks again to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the recap. In Season 2 of Euphoria, things get even more complicated for Rue Bennett and her fellow classmates. Fezco's younger brother Ashtray kills their supplier Mouse in self-defense, putting the drug dealer duo in a very precarious situation. Rue tags along with Fez as he forges a deal with a new supplier, an unassuming but very threatening woman named Lori. With his business affairs squared away, Fezco turns his attention to his personal life. Faye, the girlfriend of Fez's friend Custer, moves in with him when Custer needs to lay low from the police. Fez finally gets his revenge on Nate Jacobs for sending the police to raid his apartment for drugs by viciously beating him at a house party. And Fez even begins developing a romantic relationship with his crush Lexi. Cassie begins secretly sleeping with Nate and quickly becomes obsessed with him, though this leaves her racked with guilt due to Nate being her best friend Maddie's ex-boyfriend. This is all complicated even further when Nate rekindles his relationship with Maddie, keeping his tryst with Cassie a secret. Meanwhile, Nate's father drunkenly comes out to his family and leaves them to prioritize himself. And then there's Kat, who begins to lose interest in her boyfriend Ethan and fakes a terminal illness to try to break up with him. Ethan sees through this lie and ends the relationship himself. Elsewhere, Rue rekindles her relationship with Jules, who is unaware that Rue is slipping further into addiction. Not helping matters is the fact that Rue befriends new kid Elliot, who secretly enables her drug habit. In her continued spiral, Rue pays a visit to Lori and offers to become a drug dealer in order to secure $10,000 worth of drugs. As Elliot grows closer to Rue and Jules, he begins to feel guilty about his part in enabling Rue's addiction. After developing a romantic relationship with Jules, Elliot confesses to her that he and Rue have been doing drugs together. Jules alerts Rue's mom Leslie, who destroys Rue's massive drug stash. This sends Rue into a full-blown breakdown, angrily cutting ties with Jules and Elliot while destroying her own home. While Leslie tries to take Rue to rehab, Rue instead flees to Lexi and Cassie's house. When Leslie arrives to stage an intervention, Rue reveals to Maddie that Cassie and Nate were sleeping with each other, causing a fight that serves as enough of a distraction for Rue to escape. Rue then takes refuge at Lori's home, where she is given morphine to help with her withdrawals, though the drug dealer also insinuates that Rue could be sold into prostitution if she doesn't pay back Lori the $10,000 that is owed. Following this traumatic and chaos-fueled day, Rue returns home to seek treatment. Following the blow-up between Maddie, Cassie, and Nate, and his father's departure, Nate decides to take his family's future into his own hands. Maddie has a copy of a sex tape that Cal had secretly filmed of himself with Jules, and to ensure she never leaks it and ruins the Jacobs family name, Nate holds Maddie and himself at gunpoint to retrieve it. Nate then pays a visit to Jules and gives her the tape, apologizing for all of the terrible things he's done to her, and confessing everything he told her when catfishing her was the truth. Amidst all of this interpersonal conflict, Lexi has been writing a school play chronicling her perspective of the lives of her family and friends. During the play's performance, there are a variety of reactions from the story's subjects. Maddie begins to soften on her anger toward Cassie. Rue and Jules reevaluate their feelings for each other, and Nate becomes enraged at a homoerotic musical number centered around him and the high school football team, leading him to breaking up with Cassie. This causes Cassie to run up on stage to publicly confront Lexi for embarrassing her. This escalates further when their mother runs on stage to break up the fight, while Maddie runs on stage to fight Cassie. Lexi's big moment is teetering toward disaster, but Rue rallies the crowd into a chant for Lexi, coaxing her to continue on with the play. Unfortunately, the seat Lexi saved for Fezco goes unfilled, as the drug dealer is having major problems of his own. Faye's boyfriend Custer becomes an informant for the police in their investigation over Mouse's murder, and he arrives at Fez's apartment to try to record incriminating evidence. Faye warns Fez, but Ashtray is unaware of the situation and thinks killing Custer is the solution to their problems. As a SWAT team prepares to storm the apartment, Fez plans on taking the fall for Mouse and Custer's deaths. But Ashtray has different plans and locks himself in the bathroom with an arsenal of weapons. As the SWAT team bursts in and Fez pleads for his brother to stop, Ashtray opens fire. The police kill Ashtray and Fez is shot in the stomach during the crossfire before being arrested. Meanwhile, Nate pays a visit to his father. Cal finally apologizes to his son for all of the emotional trauma he has caused, but it is too late to mend their relationship, as Nate has already alerted the authorities about Cal's history of secretly recording his sexual escapades with partners of varying ages. As the season comes to a close, Rue forgives Elliot for his involvement in her intervention and thanks him for saving her life. Her relationship with Jules, on the other hand, is a bit more complicated, as Rue is left wondering if she is finally ready to move on from her first love. In the end, Rue narrates that she stayed sober for the rest of the school year, and though she doesn't know if that sobriety will last forever, right now she is trying. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and why not check out this recommended video while you're at it.